Successful billionaire living his best life spots a familiar face among the homeless, his ex-wife from years ago, now desperate and begging for money. Before we dive deeper, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me where in the world you're watching from. I want to know how far this story is traveling. The rain had started as a drizzle, but now it poured in sheets across the Manhattan streets. Darius Crestmore sat in the back of his black Mercedes SUV, barely noticing the weather as his driver navigated through the evening traffic. His phone buzzed with notifications, stock alerts, merger proposals, another billion-dollar deal closing by midnight. At 42, Darius had everything he'd ever dreamed of: 3 successful tech companies, a penthouse overlooking Central Park, and a reputation as one of the youngest self-made billionaires in America. But tonight, something felt different. Empty, maybe. "Sir, there's an accident ahead. I'll need to take the side streets," his driver, James, announced. Marcus nodded absently, still scrolling through emails. The SUV turned down a less familiar route, away from the glittering skyscrapers and into a grayer part of the city. The buildings here were older, worn. People huddled in doorways, trying to escape the rain. That's when he saw her. At first, it was just a glimpse. A woman sitting on the wet pavement with a cardboard sign, her head bowed against the rain. Something about her posture made Darius look twice, then 3 times. His heart stopped. "James, stop the car." "Sir, stop the car. Now." The SUV pulled to the curb. Darius threw open the door before James could come around, rain immediately soaking his $2,000 suit. He didn't care. He walked slowly toward the woman, his breath catching in his throat with each step. It couldn't be. But it was. "Sarah?" The woman's head lifted slowly. Her face was thinner than he remembered, weathered by time and hardship. Her once bright eyes were hollow, ringed with exhaustion. But it was unmistakably her, Sarah Mitchell, Sarah Crestmore, for the 3 years they'd been married, his ex-wife. Recognition flooded her features, followed quickly by shame. She tried to stand, to run, but her legs buckled. Darius caught her by the arm. "Darius," she whispered, her voice cracking. "You shouldn't be here. What happened to you?" The words came out harsher than he intended. "Sarah, what the hell happened?" She pulled away from his grip, wrapping her thin jacket tighter around herself. The cardboard sign at her feet read, "Single mother. Anything helps. God bless. Single mother." The words hit Darius like a freight train. "You have a child?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She looked away, toward the darkening street. "Please, just go. Forget you saw me. Forget." Darius couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Sarah, we were married. I loved you. Then you just disappeared after the divorce. No calls, no forwarding address, nothing. And now I find you here, like this." He gestured at the wet pavement, the cardboard sign, the emptiness of it all. "You didn't love me enough," she said quietly. "What are you talking about? You're the one who asked for the divorce." "No, Darius, I didn't." Sarah finally met his eyes, and the pain there was so raw it made him step back. "I never wanted a divorce. I never signed those papers willingly." The rain continued to fall, but Darius barely felt it anymore. "What do you mean?" Sarah took a shaky breath. "Your business partner, Richard. He came to me 6 years ago, right after you started making your first real money. He told me you'd been having an affair, that you wanted out but were too much of a coward to tell me yourself. He had photos, Darius, fake ones, I realize now, but they look so real. You with another woman, at hotels, restaurants. He said you'd sent him to handle the divorce quietly, that if I fought it, you'd make sure I got nothing." Darius felt the ground shift beneath him. Richard, his mentor, his partner, the man who'd helped him build his empire from nothing. "I was already pregnant," Sarah continued, her voice breaking. 8 weeks. I hadn't told you yet because I wanted to surprise you, but after Richard showed me those photos, after he threatened me, I thought maybe you'd gotten someone else pregnant too. I thought you'd moved on and just wanted me gone. So I signed the papers. I took the settlement money he offered, $50,000, and I left. 50,000? Darius's voice was barely a whisper. Sarah, the divorce decree said you got 2 million. I made sure of it. I thought you'd be set for life. She laughed bitterly. I got a check for 50,000 and a one-way bus ticket to Philadelphia. Richard told me that's all you thought I deserved. That you'd said I was just a phase, someone you'd married young before you knew better. Darius felt sick. The divorce had happened during the most chaotic time in his company's growth. He'd been working 20-hour days, barely sleeping. Richard had handled everything, told him Sarah wanted a quick, quiet divorce, and had already signed the papers. Darius had been heartbroken but assumed Sarah had fallen out of love with him, that his obsession with work had driven her away. He'd signed without reading carefully, trusting Richard completely. I tried to find you, Sarah said. After our daughter was born, I tried calling, but your number was changed. I came to your office, but security wouldn't let me up. I sent letters, but they were returned. Eventually, I realized Richard must have been blocking me. By then, the 50,000 was almost gone. Babies are expensive. Living in Philadelphia with no family, no job skills beyond the part-time bookkeeping I'd done before, I struggled. You have a daughter. Darius could barely process the information. We have a daughter. Her name is Emma. She's 5 years old. She has your eyes, Darius. Your smile. Sarah's tears mixed with the rain on her face. I tried so hard to give her a good life. I worked 3 jobs at one point, but 2 years ago she got sick. Really sick. The doctors diagnosed her with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The world seemed to stop spinning. The treatment was expensive. My insurance barely covered anything. I sold everything I had, moved to cheaper and cheaper places, but the medical bills kept piling up. I lost my last job because I kept missing work to take Emma to appointments. We got evicted 3 months ago. We've been staying at a shelter, but there's a waiting list, and we don't always get a bed. So sometimes we're on the streets. Darius couldn't breathe. He had a daughter with cancer, and they'd been homeless while he lived in a penthouse worth $30 million. Where is she now? He demanded. Where's Emma? At the shelter. They had room tonight. She's safe, warm. I came out here hoping to make enough money for her medication. Her prescription runs out tomorrow, and without it, Sarah couldn't finish the sentence. Darius pulled out his phone with shaking hands. James, bring the car. Now. He turned back to Sarah. Take me to her. Take me to our daughter. Darius, I didn't tell you this to ask for money. I just wanted you to know the truth. After all these years of thinking you hated us, I thought you deserved to know what Richard did. Sarah. Darius took her hands in his. They were cold, rough from hard labor. These hands had once held his so gently, had touched his face with such love. I never stopped loving you. Not for one day. I thought you'd left me because I wasn't enough, because I worked too much and neglected you. I threw myself into building my business because it was the only thing that didn't remind me of losing you. The SUV pulled up. Darius helped Sarah inside, wrapping her in his coat. She was shivering, whether from cold or shock, he couldn't tell. The Hamilton Street shelter, Sarah told James quietly. As they drove, Darius made phone calls. First to his lawyer. I need every document from my divorce 6 years ago. Every email, every communication. I want Richard Chin's financial records subpoenaed. Yes, tonight. I don't care what it costs. Then to his private physician. Dr. Morrison, I need you to prepare for a pediatric patient, 5-year-old girl, all diagnosis. I'm bringing her in tonight. Clear your schedule for tomorrow. We're running every test. I want the best pediatric oncologist in the country on call. Sarah watched him in silence, tears streaming down her face. The shelter was in a converted warehouse, clean but institutional. Sarah led Marcus through the check-in process, past rows of beds filled with families, until they reached a small section partitioned off with curtains. And there she was. Emma was small for 5, her head wrapped in a colorful scarf. She was drawing on a piece of scrap paper with broken crayons, her tongue sticking out in concentration just like Darius did when he was focused on something. When she looked up, Darius saw his own dark brown eyes staring back at him. Mommy! Emma scrambled off the cot and threw herself into Sarah's arms. "You're all wet. Did you bring my medicine?" "Not yet, baby, but I brought someone I want you to meet." Sarah knelt down, her hands on Emma's small shoulders. "Emma, this is Darius. He's your daddy." Emma's eyes went wide. She looked from Sarah to Darius and back again. "My daddy? My real daddy? The one from the pictures? You have pictures of me?" Darius's voice cracked. Sarah nodded. "I kept our wedding album. I showed her, so she'd know where she came from, so she'd know she was loved, even if..." She couldn't finish. Darius knelt down slowly, bringing himself to Emma's eye level. Up close, he could see how pale she was, how thin, but he could also see the spark of life in her, the curiosity, the intelligence, his daughter, his child. "Hi, Emma," he managed. "I'm sorry it took me so long to find you." Emma tilted her head, studying him carefully. Then she smiled, and Darius felt his heart break and heal at the same time. "You look just like my picture. Mommy said you were building important things. Did you finish building them?" "I built a lot of things, sweetheart, but none of them mattered. Not without you and your mom." Emma reached out and touched his face, her small hand cold against his cheek. "Mommy says when I get better, we're going to have our own house again. Will you live there too?" Darius looked at Sarah over Emma's head. She was crying openly now. "If your mom will let me," he said. "I'd like that very much." The next hours passed in a blur. Darius had James drive them straight to his penthouse. Sarah protested, but he wouldn't hear it. Dr. Morrison arrived within an hour, setting up a makeshift examination room in one of the guest bedrooms. After a thorough check, he confirmed Sarah's diagnosis but said Emma's condition was treatable, especially with proper care and medication. "She's malnourished," Dr. Morrison told Darius privately. "Her immune system is compromised, but with the right treatment plan, she has an excellent chance of full recovery. You got here just in time." While Emma slept in what Darius had already decided would be her bedroom, he and Sarah sat in his study. She'd showered and was wearing clothes Darius had had delivered, simple but clean and new. She looked more like the woman he'd married, but there was a hardness around her eyes now, a wariness that hadn't been there before. "Richard embezzled the divorce settlement," Darius said, showing her the emails his lawyer had already uncovered. "He created fake accounts in your name, deposited the $2 million, then transferred it to offshore accounts he controlled. He did the same thing with 3 other clients, it turns out. We're filing criminal charges tomorrow. He'll go to prison for a long time." Sarah stared at the documents. "I wasted so much time hating you, thinking you'd abandoned us. I wasted time too, believing you'd stop loving me." Darius reached across the desk, taking her hand. "Sarah, I know I can't undo the last 6 years. I can't give back the time we lost, but I want to try. Not just for Emma, though God knows I want to be her father more than anything, but for us, if you'll let me." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "You hurt me, Darius. Even though it wasn't your fault, those years of thinking you didn't want us, didn't want her, that pain doesn't just disappear. I know. And Emma needs stability. She needs to know that if you're in her life, you're not going anywhere. She can't handle another abandonment." "I'm not going anywhere," Darius said firmly. "I'll sign anything, do anything to prove it. I want to be her father, Sarah. I want to watch her grow up. I want to take her to school and help with homework and scare away boys when she's older. I want all of it. And what about us?" Darius stood, walking around the desk, to kneel beside Sarah's chair. "I never stopped loving you. Not once in 6 years. I compared every woman I met to you and found them all lacking. You're it for me, Sarah. You always have been. But I understand if you need time, if you need to learn to trust me again, I'll wait as long as it takes." Sarah touched his face, the same way Emma had hours earlier. "I never stopped loving you either. Even when I hated you, I loved you. Isn't that the worst part?" Darius kissed her then, soft and tentative, like they were teenagers again. When they broke apart, Sarah was crying again, but this time she was smiling too. "We have a lot to figure out," she said. "Emma's treatment, where we'll live, how to help her adjust to all this change. We'll figure it out together, Darius promised. As a family. 3 months later, Darius stood in the doorway of Emma's new bedroom, watching Sarah read their daughter a bedtime story. Emma's hair had started growing back, soft, dark curls that matched his own. The doctors said her prognosis was excellent. She'd responded incredibly well to treatment, and with consistent care, she'd likely make a full recovery. The penthouse had been transformed. What was once a bachelor's showcase of wealth was now a home, filled with Emma's artwork, family photos, and the comfortable chaos of daily life. Darius had stepped back from day-to-day operations at his companies, promoting trusted people into leadership roles so he could focus on what mattered. He and Sarah had remarried last month, a simple ceremony with just Emma and a few close friends. The press had gone crazy with the story once it leaked. Billionaire reunites with long-lost family. But Darius didn't care. Let them write what they wanted. He had everything he needed right here. Richard was awaiting trial, facing decades in prison for embezzlement and fraud. Darius had testified at the preliminary hearings, watching his former friend and mentor be led away in handcuffs. He'd felt nothing but pity. Richard had stolen millions, but lost everything that mattered in the process. Emma finished her story and noticed Darius in the doorway. "Daddy, come say goodnight." Daddy. He'd never get tired of hearing that word. He walked over and kissed Emma's forehead, then Sarah's. "Sweet dreams, princess." "Daddy, you know what I wish for today?" Emma asked sleepily. "What's that?" "I wish that every kid who doesn't have a home could find one, like we did." Darius felt his throat tighten. "That's a beautiful wish. Can we help them, when I'm all better?" He looked at Sarah, who nodded encouragingly. "Yes, sweetheart, we can help them." "That's a wonderful idea." As Emma drifted off to sleep, Darius took Sarah's hand and led her out to the balcony. The city sprawled before them, millions of lights in the darkness. Somewhere out there, other families were struggling, lost, separated by circumstances or misunderstandings. "I've been thinking," Darius said, "about what Emma said. I want to start a foundation for families affected by medical debt, for kids in shelters, for people who fall through the cracks like you and Emma did." "That sounds like you," Sarah said, leaning against him, always wanting to fix everything. "I can't fix everything, but I can try to make sure no other family goes through what we did. No other father misses 5 years of his daughter's life because someone else decided to play God with their happiness." Sarah turned in his arms, looking up at him. "You found us, Darius. Against all odds, in a city of millions, on one rainy night, you found us. Maybe that's not luck. Maybe that's exactly what was supposed to happen." Darius pulled her closer, breathing in the scent of her hair, feeling the warmth of her against him. "I don't care if it was fate or luck or divine intervention. I'm just grateful I looked out that window when I did. That I stopped the car. That I got a second chance." "We all got a second chance," Sarah corrected. "Emma gets to know her father. You get to be a dad. And I get my husband back. We get to be a family." Inside, Emma stirred in her sleep, calling out softly. Darius and Sarah both moved to her room, standing on either side of her bed like sentinels. Emma settled, a small smile on her face as she dreamed whatever dreams 5-year-old girls dream. Darius reached across the bed and took Sarah's hand. They stood there together in the soft glow of Emma's nightlight. 3 people who'd been lost and found, broken and healed, separated and reunited. Sometimes, Darius thought, you have to lose everything to understand what matters. He'd been a billionaire before, but he'd been poor in the ways that counted. Now, standing in this room with his wife and daughter, watching Emma sleep peacefully, he finally understood what true wealth meant. It wasn't in bank accounts or stock portfolios or corporate empires. It was in this moment, right here. It was in second chances and small hands and bedtime stories. It was in love, given freely and fought for fiercely. It was in family. And Darius Crestmore, billionaire, husband, and father, was finally truly rich.